everyone. Welcome back to Some Extent podcast.
Welcome back.
How was your week? Do you have a Rose and Bud and Thorn?
Week was pretty good. Going through some life changes, new chapters in my life, so excited for a new chapter to open up. But I would say Rose of the week would be, the NCAA tournament started this week, and I'm having a lot of fun watching basketball. There's basketball on 16 hours a day, so it's pretty fun. I love the tournament, and I love to just get wrapped up in the madness, I guess. I got a dog in the fight this year, as IU's playing pretty well, so I usually don't have a dog in the fight, but they're there this time, so I'm excited about that. So I'd say Rose is that. They actually played Sunday night, but this won't come out until like Tuesday. Thorn can kind of, I guess, one Thorn is I feel like I've lost my voice a little bit. So it's like hard to hear me. So hopefully that comes back, but I think Thorn might be honestly that every single year, kind of along the same lines, I do a March Madness bracket and I get really excited about my picks and I think about it a lot. And then every single year in the first 10 hours, it's busted. And I don't care about my bracket anymore. I pay money to enter these leagues and just immediately lose all the money. I was having fun for the first day. And then everything kind of went and broke itself, so didn't have any of that. And then, what was the last one?
Your Bud, which is something you're...
Oh, looking forward to?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to... I'm looking really forward to these sandwiches that I heard that we might be eating later. So, I remember, I found this cool thing about Denver, Elvis had come to Denver because he found a sandwich he really likes that was made in Denver. So I looked it up and was like, oh, we gotta get these sandwiches because if Elvis is flying
back to Denver
just to get a sandwich, it's gotta be pretty good.
Right.
So we learned that the place is actually closed.
It just closed.
But I don't think the sandwich is too hard to make on your own. So I think we're gonna try those out tonight. It's not a healthy sandwich. It's do you remember what it's called?
It's called Fool's Gold or something like that. Fool's Gold sandwich.
Yeah.
It's literally just a French baguette, but they hollow it out. So they take all the bread away from the middle.
Exactly.
And they put, was it blueberry jam, peanut butter, bacon, and banana.
Yeah.
And they fill it up and they put the sandwich back together. So it's hollowed out, but it's filled with all of that stuff.
Yeah, it's toasted up too.
But apparently that was Elvis's favorite sandwich.
I know, yeah. So I'm excited to try that. It's not the most healthy thing in the world, but yeah, that'll be fun.
It sounds disgusting, I'm not gonna lie.
Really?
To me. I just don't like jam though.
There's not a lot of things I don't like.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna like it.
But it does, I could tell by the things in it, I can tell why people like it because it's sweet and salty with the bacon.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's the big catch.
Yeah, true.
So we'll see.
It's so weird how the place closed too.
I know. I looked it up and then they closed, I think, in the fall or super recent.
Probably because of the pandemic or something.
It was super recent, but
yeah, that's tough.
So we missed out on that, but
yeah. But I like trying new spots around Denver. We try to try something new pretty often. So that's gonna be something new. What about you? How was your week?
My Rose would be, I had a lot of fun this weekend. I haven't gone out in Denver in a while, and that was a really fun St. Patty's weekend. We went out both on Friday and Saturday. And
it was a long weekend.
It was such a nice weekend too, very sunny.
Yeah.
It wasn't as warm as it could have been, but it was fun to be on a rooftop with all of our friends. My cousin and her new boyfriend came to meet us out, which was really cool. And
super warm too, just the sun was out, it was nice.
Yeah, we were with a lot of people, met a lot of new friends too, which was always fun.
Yeah.
My rose would be tomorrow, which you didn't mention. It's your birthday.
Yeah.
And I guess you don't know what's.
Well, that might be a bud, right? Because it's tomorrow.
Oh, bud.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Rose.
That's my bud.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to what we're gonna be doing tomorrow. And then.
Yeah, birthdays are weird.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm turning 23. And there's not a whole lot to celebrate, I guess. I mean, birthdays are fun, but you look forward to the special birthdays where you kind of get old enough to do, I don't know, like
21.
Yeah, 18, 21, 16. But after 21, there's not a whole lot of birthdays to look forward to. So
you're just getting older.
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Birthdays are. I like celebrating other people's birthdays. I think a little bit more, but whatever.
We'll see.
Yeah.
And then my thorn. I don't know. This week was pretty good to me. I guess similar to you, my bracket. I started off really strong, and I was first in both the leagues I'm in, and now I'm not.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm hoping for IU to win and Michigan State to win.
Yeah.
Both those games tonight.
I think Michigan State's winning right now. IU's tonight, yeah.
So that would help a lot. So not bad, Thorn.
No, yeah, but
too much.
The bracket is so frustrating because every year you think you're gonna do good, and also like you get really excited and stuff, and
right.
It's so frustrating when these teams come out of nowhere and win, and you're like, but it's also really fun to watch. I like to see those Cinderella story kind of, the people who are, I guess like maybe the less funded schools or like the smaller schools that like don't have a huge program,
right.
Don't have these like state of the art equipment and stuff, and they go out and be like a really big school. That's really cool. So that's the magic of March Madness, though.
Yeah.
It's you can make a movie out of every single year, for sure. But yeah, and then you did your bud.
Yeah, it was your birthday.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, so
not a bad week. But today I think we wanted to talk about some hard pills to swallow and some lessons you and I have learned throughout life so far.
Yeah, just like growing up, I guess. I mean, we're still really young, so some people are gonna be like, hey, you guys are only 23 years old, like.
It's like you still are learning every single year.
And I don't know, your 20s are.
Growing.
I feel like the 20s are where you grow the most.
Right.
It's where you figure everything out.
So, let's see.
Yeah, do you want to go first or me? We made a list of top 5, like, just things that we were thinking about in terms of like, I guess hard pills to swallow is a good way to put it.
I feel like a lot of mine, for me, have been recent lessons I've learned and had to get over or learn from. So my first one is nothing lasts forever, which sounds like a really Debbie Downer thing, but that has taught me a lot because it's very true.
Yeah.
Everything is temporary. But I've learned this year specifically, it also brings me comfort in a way. When I'm having a bad day, a bad meeting, just down and not doing great, it's easy and helpful for me, I guess mostly like comforting, to know that feeling's not going to last forever.
Yeah.
Gotcha. If I'm having a terrible week, it's not a terrible life. If it's a terrible day, tomorrow can be better, know? So I think I have always heard that, and I feel like it is a kind of cliche thing to say, but it's true.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think just this year it's brought me a lot of comfort in those down settings and situations. But then again, it's like, it can be sad because obviously if you have good days and good weeks and good times, obviously those don't last forever either.
Yeah, true. That's a good one to start off with, just because it's very true. It's like when you're feeling great, you want the great stuff to last forever. You want that
Right.
feeling to last forever, but it doesn't. And I also think that's maybe why the good stuff feels so good when it comes, you know?
The highs are high, the lows
Yeah.
are low.
Yeah, exactly. So you're right, because it doesn't last forever. Or else if everything was good, it wouldn't be good. It would just be normal, I
Right.
guess, right?
So that's my first one.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like it. My first one is getting older is like a real thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. So when, like, if I look at it physically, like, I felt like the jump from like being 18 years old to being, I'm about to turn 23, physically is like kind of crazy. It's like, I don't know, when you're 18, I would like go out and, I don't know, play sports and whatever. I would get off the couch and just run around, do whatever. I don't know, my body was just like ready to go at all times.
Right.
And like I feel like now if I'm doing something physical, if I'm doing an activity or anything like that, like I gotta stretch. I try to stretch like 20 or 30 minutes a day now.
Yeah.
Just to like make sure that I'm not gonna injure myself. Because I feel like every other day it's like, oh, I tweaked this. And it's like, I'm only 23 years old, I can't imagine what like your body gets older and older.
Right.
So I was like, that's something I'm starting to realize a lot now. It's like, I gotta dedicate time for like, I guess like recovery and like taking care of myself physically.
That's also I don't know, I think that's like a super important thing that not a lot of people think about too. It's like
Yeah.
you want to work out, you want to do all the classes and stuff, but you forget about how important like stretching and flexibility is too.
It's also so time consuming too. Like
It
20,
is.
30 minutes a day is a lot, and it's also boring.
If you know Lex too, you know that we could be anywhere and you are always stretching. We could be at a grocery store and he's both hands on the wall, stretching his like Achilles, or like it's like anywhere.
Yeah.
Not even just at the gym, anywhere. We're at a bar and he's like doing his little knee hugs.
Dude, you gotta get it in when you can.
It's crazy.
You gotta get it in. It's like, I don't know, that maintenance part is something I've been dealing with a lot.
I think you've learned how important it was from the marathon, because I feel like I see you before, like, I don't know, I feel like after the marathon you stretched a lot, and throughout training for it
Yeah.
you realize like how your body's
Yeah,
feeling.
also like, I started getting injured too, and like, it sucks. Injuries are worse, so I'd rather spend 20, 30 minutes stretching than being injured and spend 8, 9 months not being able to walk or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so it's worth it, I think. The trade-off is good. So that was my first one just because it's something that is becoming really relevant right about now as I turn older. You want to go again?
Yes. My next one is that I feel like this is kind of obvious, but like you outgrow things, but you can also outgrow people and places. And
Yeah.
I say like the first part was obvious because, you know, as you grow older, your hobbies change, your likes, your dislikes, your food taste, your interest in toys, and then so on.
Yeah.
Like that's obvious. But not so obvious is like you can also outgrow places.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like moving out of home and out of the Midwest was a good growing point for me because I realized how much more the world has to offer than just at home and in that bubble.
Yeah.
And then another thing is people. You know, relationships change, people change, and as you grow and transition your life, sometimes people don't serve you the same way they used to.
Yeah.
And I think that's a hard pill to swallow for me because especially in the years like now, we kind of were talking about this. I feel like in high school and growing up, you're at home and you know, like you set up play dates and you have your school friends and it's all people around you.
Yeah.
Then you go to college and you realize you can pick your own friends now.
Yeah.
And it's still a very small knit bubble because you're still at the same college or same town, but you're picking your own friends.
Yeah.
And then now it's like I'm picking where I'm living, I'm picking what I'm doing every weekend or week, and now I'm picking my friends too.
Yeah.
And even more so than before in life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I think that's a hard pill to swallow because it could be so comfortable and comforting.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, I think it's okay to move away from places and people if you feel ready.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think your tastes change, you know? And as you get older, obviously you don't get into this, you're not always into the same stuff all the time. But I think like if you are really into something, like taking advantage of it when you're interested in it is really huge. Like do it if you're really interested in it. Make time for it because eventually your tastes are going to change, life will get in the way and you won't be able to do it. And I feel like you'll always regret not doing something over at least trying something and, you know, like failing or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's something I think about a lot. I think is just, I don't know, I get interested in different things all the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, be interested in it for a while, and if your taste, if it grows out of you, then it grows out of you and you try something new.
I know, I was listening to a podcast at the gym the other day, and she kind of touched on this as well. And in kind of the opposite way, too. It was like, for her example, she was super interested in horseback riding and loved horses. And then she moved to a big city and obviously can't do that much anymore. And she just felt kind of like depressed and in this like hole or deep part of her life.
Yeah.
And she tried to bring back things that made her happy as like a girl. And she tried horseback riding again and like she was like, I'm not good at it, but it's something that brings me joy. So I feel like you're right with the whole transition thing. Like you go through so many different cycles and transitions in your life and chapters, I guess.
Yeah.
Some things don't serve you at that time of your life, but maybe it will come back to you.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the same thing with relationships and places as well, you know?
Yeah.
So
try it. Yeah. Like, I don't know, find something you're interested in, do it. Because, yeah, I just think if you don't want to have those regrets like, oh, I wish I'd done this. Because it's so much, I feel like it's so much easier to look back and be like, all right, I tried it. Maybe it didn't work out, but I did give it a really good try. Something like that. So I like that one too. Let's see. So I put, you can't decide what happens to you, but you can decide how to react to it. So what I was thinking when I wrote this one, I guess was just like, there's events, I guess, that happen to you and you don't really have any control over them, but you do have control over how you respond to them.
Yeah.
And so you can be like, I don't know, if something, like bad things happen to everybody, so when something bad happens to you, it's like taking the time to like figure out how should I react to this.
Right.
Because like sometimes you can react to it and then, I don't know, there's different ways you can react to it and it may be harder to kind of like get over it or move on or do something like that. Depending on how you decide to take those actions, you know? So I thought that was something I've been learning a lot because I feel like when I was younger, I would react very emotionally to things. Just like my first reaction was always like the one I was going with, you know?
Yeah. Because emotions too are right there in that moment
Yeah.
with you. At least for me, I feel the same way. I'm a very emotional person. Wish I wasn't, but I am.
Yeah.
And when things happen, whether they're good or bad, like I feel like the emotion's the first thing to hit you.
Yeah.
Whether that's shock, whether that's crying, whether that's pissed off, like whatever it is, that's what hits you first. So it's hard to think logically in that moment when you're so emotional.
Yeah, definitely.
At least in my opinion.
But I'm learning to kind of figure out how to take a step back and look at a situation and be like, all right, I can react like this, I can react what my instinct tells me, or I can react how I think is a smarter move, or more interesting. So that's something I've been learning as I'm growing older, as I'm trying to figure out who I am and things like that. Is just changing how you act, and you have control over your own actions, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have control over what happens to you, or other people's actions, I guess.
I kind of wrote a similar one. My last one is do the right thing. Doing the right thing is the hardest thing, and I feel like that's really similar to what you were trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, again, it's a good lesson to learn, especially now, because it's showing maturity as well.
Yeah.
Taking the high road, or being the bigger person, or reacting in a more logical way instead of emotional.
Yeah.
That's not an easy thing to do.
100%.
I'm definitely still learning that.
Yeah. No, it's not an easy thing to learn. I don't think I've completely learned it.
Mastered it.
Yeah, I don't think so, but I think I'm starting to realize that that's
How
what the universe is trying to teach me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. You got it. All right, your third one.
Okay, my third one is not everyone will like you, which I know is also probably a little bit obvious, but it's something I learned going to college and throughout college is it's okay that not everyone likes you, and you don't need to get along with everyone either.
Yeah.
I think going into college I was pretty naive about that, and just experience a lot of not as welcoming people and nice people either. And that was definitely a culture shock, but also a really big lesson for me to learn. And I think it taught me a lot, because now I can go through life and be like, it's okay that not everyone likes you and you don't get along with everyone. You know, like, not everyone needs to be your best friend.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's not going to happen. Like, that's not natural.
Yeah.
But that was something I learned throughout college, and that I still value today.
It is a tough thing to swallow sometimes, though.
Yeah.
Especially if, like, in your hometown or something, you kind of have all these friends, and, like, everyone's very similar because they all kind of grew up in the same place.
Right.
Then you kind of move away, and you mesh with a bunch of people who are different. And it can be tough though, because I agree with that. It's like, you'd rather be like yourself, I guess, than be filtering for what everybody else wants out of you.
And that was the hardest part, is like, I feel like I was a people pleaser, especially freshman year of college. Like, I just wanted to get along with everyone and find my group, because I didn't have one,
Yeah.
So what you said was true. Like, you shouldn't have to change yourself to find friends. It comes to you naturally as you are yourself.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So I guess just don't be a people pleaser, and your group will come.
Yeah. It is more important to do stuff for yourself, because at the end of the day, you're the one that's kind of, like, I guess, living with yourself. Like, you're gonna be with yourself all the time. So, like, the first person you gotta make happy is you.
Yeah.
And then those people that don't like you, man, that happens. But you're right. Yeah, especially growing up, it's a hard pill to swallow. Definitely. Let's see here. Number 3. Adults don't have everything figured out either.
That's so scary, but it's so true.
Yeah, so I think, like, when you grow up, sometimes you think your parents have everything figured out. And, like, you look at them as, like, all right, they know what they're doing.
Right.
I'm safe here because they at least know what they're doing. And it's like, once you grow older, you realize that is not true. They're figuring everything out just as much as you are. And that is kind of be tough to swallow, because it's kind of like somebody you look up to all the time, or like, even if it's not your parents, it's like somebody that you can, like, look up to, and you're like, oh wow, one day I'll get to the point where I have everything figured out like they do. And then you look at them, and that's why it said, don't meet your heroes, kids, because you realize they aren't as perfect as you might think they are.
Exactly.
And you don't, they don't have everything figured out, which can be scary, because there's always, like, an idea in people's heads, I feel like, that they want to find someone who has everything figured out, or, like, they're seeking out somebody who, like, knows exactly how to do this life thing. And that is, like, a tough thing to see sometimes when you're like, oh wow, like they're stuck, they get in the ruts too. It's like everyone's kind of just figuring out themselves.
I even agree, like, yes, obviously your parents is like probably one of the number one obvious people as an example of that, but also I'm thinking about 10-year-old me looking at 23-year-old me now, you know, and in that point I'd be like, I don't know what's happening, you know.
For real.
Hopefully, like, by my 20s I have somewhat of my life figured out, and then I'm still sitting here and I'm like, I still don't know, you know, like, you are figuring it out. I think that's a very true statement and something we experience a lot, especially like getting to working full time and being somewhat adults, you know. It's crazy. It's a crazy concept, but I completely agree with you. And it's okay too that we don't have it figured out. And
that's how you learn lessons too.
Yeah.
That's how you learn stuff about yourself. Yeah. So let's move on to yours, number 4.
You won't be happy all the time. I feel like a lot of mine are like downers, but this is a lesson I've learned, and I think it's just because, again, the highs are high, the lows are low, and you won't have the highs without the lows.
Yeah,
so it
definitely.
sounds like a bad lesson, like a sad one, kind of, but if you think about it, if you were happy all the time, your life would just be very constant and consistent, and you wouldn't have those highs.
Yeah.
So something I've learned, actually through like my therapist, is sometimes, obviously like you hate being in the lows, but sometimes they're necessary, I guess.
Yeah, that's
to
where you
have those highs.
Yeah, that's where you figure out the most about yourself too, you know?
And it's like, another thing is, if you were, I don't know, if you look at life and you obviously want to be happy most of the time, that's just not realistic either. You know?
Yeah.
So I think that's where I was coming from for that one.
I think it can be like, I think you can get to a point where you're like overall really happy, but you still have good and bad days, you know? It still fluctuates, but like overall, I feel like you can get to a point where you're like at least like content with how things are going, and like that I think is what people are striving for, you know? It's like that happiness and like I don't know, fulfilling their dreams and things like that. But that's a good. I guess it's a good point. It's like it seems like kind of an obvious one, but it's also something that you don't really realize.
I know. That's why I'm like, I just reread it again. I'm like, okay, yeah, it is obvious, but I feel like social media kind of does that to us too, where you're posting all your highs and your good times, and you're seeing everyone else's good times and highs, and looking at all that and comparing it to your own life, being like, why am I not that happy? Why am I not always out with people or whatever it is that you're jealous of?
Yeah.
That was a good lesson to learn, just to put life in perspective and also just be realistic with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Fair.
What's your next one?
This one's more lighthearted, I'd say, but something I guess I learned is like $100 is not as much as I used to think it was. So like when I was a kid, and I feel like this is pretty similar to a lot of people, like you look at it, you're like $100, like that's crazy. Like I could buy anything with $100.
Right.
And now I'm like, $100 is like, I don't know, maybe it's inflation, but I feel like you can't get as much as I used to think you could with $100. It's like...
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like if you want to buy a video game, that's $70. I don't know, it's like it's so weird how it works, and I don't think it's just like inflation obviously is a thing, but it is $100 is worth less now than it used to be when I was a kid, but I would say that it just seemed as a child that if you had $100, you had everything. You could do whatever you wanted. But I guess as a kid, it's like, how much do you really want, you know? Like toys or like...
I was going to say, I feel like it's because we grew up too. and we actually have things we need to pay for.
Mm-hmm.
And as a kid, it's like, yeah, you want that video game, you want all the candy in the candy store, you want a toy.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are pretty cheap, depending on what kind of toy you want or whatever.
Yeah.
But now, you're right, it's like utilities for the month could be $100.
Yeah, for sure.
One meal could be $100 for
Yeah.
a date, you know?
Which is, yeah, it's crazy.
Gas for 2 months or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's just little things like that. Not little things, they're obviously expensive, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I guess you just realize that you need more than $100 for things.
And we have more expensive tastes now.
I guess, yeah. Yeah, you're right.
And need more in life too. Now that we're supporting ourselves, you know? Like as a kid, we're dependent.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, wait, I feel like you kind of covered your last one a little bit.
I
what
did.
do you think?
I guess the other one I had is like not everyone is a good person.
Yeah.
That's one.
Or maybe they just don't have the right intentions sometimes. I don't know.
And it's sad, but it's true, and I feel like everyone could relate to this. Just, again, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but there are a lot of evil people in the
You're just
world.
like, all right, yeah, if you grow up, by the way, there's all these really bad things that are going to happen to you.
No, and there's still good people, but you're right, like some people's intentions are just not right. And that was a hard pill for me to swallow because I think I have always looked into people and saw the best in them, and then other sides would come out and it's just a bad feeling to sit with and be like, okay, this person isn't who I actually thought he was, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that could just be like, even just watching the news, people going around shooting other people or robbing banks, whatever, like there's so, I guess it's because it's the news too, like they highlight those things to be like aware of, but I just have always, growing up, saw good in people, and as life goes by, there's not always good in people, or good things.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say part of that I disagree with only because I feel like there are good and bad people, but sometimes good people still do bad things, I guess.
Yeah.
Sometimes bad people do good things. Like, so it's like, I don't know, you're not, I guess you're not like put into a category. Like, you can't be like this like you can't just go, this person's good, this person's bad, you know?
Right.
It's like, I don't know, I try to consider myself a good person, but I've done, like, it's not like I haven't done things that I, like, regret or anything like that. It's like part of being a human, I guess. But yeah, I guess maybe what I'm getting out of that is kind of like, you just start to realize there are, I don't know, as a kid you have this innocence of the world, and so like once you grow up, I guess you have more experiences and you do start to realize that, like, I don't know, like there are bad things that are happening, I guess, and not everybody makes perfect decisions, so it's like...
No one does.
Yeah.
But I agree with, that's where I'm coming from, is like the innocence and being naive and thinking everything's always good and always
That's fair.
Pure and good intentions, and it's just not.
Yeah, gotcha.
So it's just another realization as I've grown up and
yeah, definitely
gone through life.
For sure.
What's your last one?
My last one is, you can do anything that you want to, but nothing is going to happen to you. You have to make it happen for yourself.
Mm-hmm. It's not just going to be like given to you.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I mean, living in America, we have great opportunities here. Like, this country provides a lot of opportunities for people, but it's also like, they're not just going to be handed to you for no reason. Like, you have to really like work, and you have to like put your head down and try new things, and like, I feel like that's something I'm learning is like, if I don't have something that I want, sometimes I would sit and be like, oh, like, I wish I had that, why did they have that and I don't, you know?
You compare yourself.
Yeah, and then it's like, something I've started to learn is just like, if I want something, like I gotta go and get it, or I gotta make it happen, or like take small steps that eventually lead up to a big step, you know?
Right.
And so it's like, after I started to realize that is when I started to be like, I need to make stuff happen for myself. And you actually like need to take action for yourself. Which I thought, I guess, was something hard to swallow. But as you grow up, you start to realize like, you got you and you got yourself, and you might have a great supporting cast around you and stuff. But if you are really passionate about something, you really want something to happen, you really are really looking forward to something, I'm not sure, but you got to take those necessary actions to do it. And you got to start somewhere.
Right.
Everybody's got to start somewhere. Like all these, I don't know, these like massive buildings, they started with a little piece of
wood.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's something that's gonna continue to be prevalent in my life for sure.
100%.
But I'm happy that I'm trying to learn that lesson now, so that in the future I can kind of take advantage of things if I want them, you know? Which
I agree. Like, I think for me, like, actions definitely speak louder than words. So I like what you said about put it into action, do something about it.
Yeah.
You can sit here and talk about your plans for hours and hours and hours, but if you don't actually go out and do anything to prove it to be true and make it happen, then it won't happen, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess that's why I think we talked about this in a different episode, but it's like trying to do something before you like tell people can be a little easier, just because you don't have those opinions on you until like I guess you tell somebody or whatever, and everybody has their own opinion. So like if you are just like doing it, I guess is all I'm pretty much trying to emphasize, which is like very similar to what we're trying to do with this podcast, I guess.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I do want to say thank you to everyone who listens every week and supports us. This has been like a really cool experience, and I feel like especially recently I've just felt a lot of support from a lot of my friends, and I'm just really grateful for that.
Yeah.
And I also hope you guys are enjoying this journey that we're on.
Yeah.
This new experience.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been cool. I think we're about to be due in like 3 months in or something. So yeah, just sticking with it, is part of the journey. It's just cranking out an episode every week.
Yeah.
Making sure it comes out. Yeah, I guess we're done with our list. You want to wrap up the show a little bit, maybe give out like a recommendation for the week or something like that?
I don't know. What's yours? Maybe that'll help me think.
Yeah, let me think here. One thing that I really liked and I really just realized was there's a new movie coming out about the Nike Phil Knight, the guy who created Nike. And it's gonna be I'm really excited to watch that movie because I feel like it's gonna be.
Wait,
really
no,
cool.
I thought it's about Michael Jordan.
Yeah, it's about Nike and Michael Jordan.
Oh, okay.
I think. Because Nike owns Jordan.
Right.
And I read his book. It's called Shoe Dog. Phil Knight's book, and I thought it was really interesting, and it was like pretty inspiring to me, the way that he kind of had an idea and figured out a way to make it happen, and now it's like this massive thing. Like you literally can't get away from it. I'm literally wearing Nike pants right now. And I would say it's just like a really inspiring book, and if you're looking for something new to read or audiobook, I would highly recommend it.
I do have. Okay, that kind of helped me. I did read Matthew McConaughey's new book, or not new book, but his book. It's called Green Light.
Yeah.
And it's just a very feel-good, inspirational book. And I did the audiobook as well just because I find that to be easier, and I like to do it when I'm working out or just doing errands, whatever.
Gotcha.
And he actually reads it himself, and he tells his own story, and it's just, he's very well spoken and inspiring, and he has a lot of good things to say. Kind of going along with like our podcast, like the hard pills to swallow type theme. Like hasn't had the easiest life at all, and it's cool to see where he's taken himself from growing up and then until now, and all of his successes is because of himself.
Yeah.
And it's just a really cool book, and I've gained a lot of respect for him. Not that I didn't before, but I have a lot more.
Yeah. He's an interesting guy for sure.
Yeah, him telling his own story too is just
he's like a really big
cool.
free spirit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he just kind of gets an inkling. He's like just does things.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
So that's another book you can check out.
Yeah, sweet. All right, you want to wrap up the show?
Yeah, thank you guys for listening to this episode. Keep on supporting us. We have a YouTube. We are on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcast, all those platforms.
Yeah, pretty much everywhere.
On Instagram and TikTok. I can link everything in the description.
Mm-hmm.
But
cool.
We'd appreciate the
Definitely.
love.
Yeah, thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next week.
Happy Tuesday.
Yeah, bye.